But my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest. I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just my 9 to 5, I'm rocking, and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die. Wish I could slow down time and just enjoy the climb.
What is up, people? So let me know how my audio is. Hopefully everything goes good. Bit rate's been doing just fine lately, so hopefully we won't have any issues like we did yesterday. Again, I do apologize for that shit yesterday. I guess basically what happened was OBS sucks ass, and my internet was shitty, and based on my provider. So hey, I had to stream safe, and I sacrificed the audio on it. It's in the works of being fixed, so it'll be up again probably a little bit later on. But with that said, that's why we're still on the census. And I really don't think that people are really understanding the reality of what they're claiming when they say they trust their senses. And it worries me. Why? Because there are people like Vegan Warrior who blatantly use their senses as proof, as evidence, and it's not. Matter of fact, we know so much about our senses and not to trust them that we do stuff like make fire alarms, make cell phone ringers. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that you do, or I'm sorry, there are things that science have done to make sure that we're able to survive, make sure that we're able to live based on the fact that, hey, guess what? Yeah, our senses are garbage. Yeah, you know what? They're great as in, compared to, we'll say, in animals. And they got their senses too. And, we can't prove they can't think and all the whole nine like that. But at the same time, understand that the reason we are alive today, comfortably in our houses, staring at our computers, is based on the fact that science has made it possible to be this easy. If it was any other way, we'd be dead. Our senses alone will never in a million years ensure our survival, right? Definitely helps. Definitely does help. But to walk around saying, for instance, the world is flat using your 5 senses is a lie. Not only is it a lie, you're lying to yourself. And if you're a person like Vegan Warrior, you're lying to everyone else. So if you determine the world is flat based on your 5 senses, but you also determine that every shooting and every incident you see in the media is a hoax, then that your idea of that isn't credible. You understand, right? It's not credible. Just so everyone understands where I come from, I've already emailed Vegan Warrior. Just this small bit of research I've done in the past few days has made me realize that his idea, his theory on how it works, on what he can trust and what he believes it to be, is wrong. Not true. And he promotes it like it is. Now, I'm not saying, hey guys, don't trust yourself, period. All ends and buts about it. But the reality of it is we have devices, we have ways to ensure our survival based on the fact that we know we can't trust our senses. We have glasses. That alone rules out observations alone being credible. That's why it doesn't work that way. That's why no scientist ever said this is fact based on just observation. The things that science tells us is credible for the only reason that we can do it ourselves, and they have added things to it. When I say add things to it, I mean ways of figuring out what is happening, not solely trusting our senses. You guys ever been walking through canyon or on a hiking trip or anything like that? You walk through a spider web? Yeah, that sucks ass, right? Yeah, you know that feeling that you got spider webs or a spider on you for the next 45 minutes to an hour, that annoying ass feeling? That's you. That's your body. It's fail safe. It knows that feeling. It knows that feeling isn't good. So what is it going to do? It's going to give you an awareness of something that's not there to protect you from it happening again. Which is basically why, you walk through a dark area and you see a spider web, you put your hand out in front of it. You know how you do that? That's based on the fact that your brain knows damn well something may happen and to protect itself. It's pretty simple. It's not like I'm sitting here telling you something that's BS. This is all real. This is all stuff you guys have thought about. So, with that said, that's my nice little rant. Hangouts out there, guys. What's up, Florence? What's up, Kosho? What were you saying? Can you invite me, peeps, to come to my test tomorrow? Absolutely. If you want to come on and talk about it, more than welcome, Kosho. If you have something for me to show them, put it in my DM, and I'll go get that real quick. Sorry about last night. That hangout shit pissed me off so much. I didn't want to deal with it. What's up, Howard Mason? Sean, we as a species have outgrown what our senses were evolved for, and for that goes on our. Okay, so yes, I 100% agree. Obviously, our sense of survival when it comes to being hunted or stalked, constant battle, constant wars from villages and all that stuff. None of that stuff really happens the same way it did then. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. Yeah, so our senses are definitely dulled down, based on the fact that the way our brains have evolved over the years, centuries actually. We don't need to worry about those things that we thought we had to worry about, thousands of years ago. What's up, P. Mars? How you doing, sir? But yeah, it's one of those things that kind of boggles my mind when someone's, I trust my senses, because you understand that logic is part of those senses, right? Like, you have to logically deduce whether or not something is real, not dangerous, all the above. The reason you have to go through these steps in your brain to figure those things out is because your brain doesn't know what to do. Your brain has to figure it out. Seeing alone will never be good enough. there's 1,000 studies I was looking through that basically explain why you can't, why you should not completely trust your senses. One of the biggest things is that you have to understand everything that's happening when it comes to the reality of where we live. The reason it took so long to figure out where we live and how it works is based on the fact that as technology advanced, we were able to not have to depend on our senses to tell these things. Now, again, you're going to tell me that they're lying. If they're lying, how come you can do it yourself? How come you're so willing to use the technology given to you by science, but you're not willing to understand that just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it's not true? What I don't get is how over my 2 years that I've been here, Flat Earth has gone so long with no evidence. Disproving how something works does not mean it all is what you think. Again, I said this yesterday. If you're using science you distrust to point out the phenomenons and the unanswered questions that we have now, how do you know those things are even correct if you believe all science is wrong? If you believe you can't trust science? Anybody who comes on here with an explanation of what they believe it is, you trust science. Why do you trust science? Because you have to use bits, pieces, and break down science to understand what you're even trying to say, whether it be just understandable to yourself. Regardless, you still have to. What's up, George? Our balloon launches, no evidence. No, they're evidence. When people launch balloons, we have evidence that we can take and break things down and figure out what we're observing. But I can tell you now, there are methods to investigating or breaking down a video that you've taken from, say, one of these balloons, and understanding what you're seeing, understanding what you're looking for. Because just watching a video, it's impossible to watch something and just know, and all the whole thing's done. Like, it's real. There's no collusion going on. All these things, or there is collusion. All these things cannot be done just watching. We have software that will tell us if something's been doctored. We have schools that teach you how to detect, how to use, how to make these effects. All the above. From not knowing anything to being an expert in investigating videos takes science, takes deducing whether or not what you're looking at makes sense. Not knowing it. I'm not even saying, I'm breaking it down more. Does it make sense to your brain how that works? You may know how to cut a pie in half and know that's half a pie, but that doesn't mean you know how fractions work, right? You may be able to drive a car, but does that mean you know how to build that car? I mean, just using our brain just without any other steps, without any other methods to figure anything out, understand that your brain wouldn't function. You have to take things in. You have to evaluate them in your brain and come to a conclusion of your own in your own brain to figure out just what you're observing. That alone. That has nothing to do with figuring out the truth of it or not. That's just the observation of it. When you go outside and you look around, your brain has to tell you, has to figure it out for itself, and then it lets you know what you're seeing. And in that, we also know your brain will let you know that something's there, but at the same time, it will also block things out that it believes is not important. Right? So one of the studies I was talking about, or I was reading on, was talking about how people react, their reactions to things. And the reality of it is one of the studies they did was they did a study where they were studying people's reactions or what they heard, right? So they put people in a situation where basically someone would call out in a crowded area, you know, he's got your boot, right? Well, in that study, 86% of the people heard he's going to shoot, right? Now that, in a big crowded area, someone screams something, that nowadays especially, that's going to be an issue. But at the same time, why did they hear something different? You guys ever played the phone game? Because that phone game, the one where I tell you something, and then you tell someone something, and then you continue on to see, you continue that, whatever was started. When it gets back to the person that started it, I'm going to tell you right now, 9.9999 times out of 10, what you started off saying to somebody, once it gets back to you, will be completely different. Completely. That's all it works. What's up, Alan? What's up, Random Things? Hey, Twitwith, how you doing? It's scary to me that there are a population of people who believe that their brain is good enough to tell them everything they need to know reliably. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And then that comes to just determining the definition of things. Guys, I've heard 1,000 times this being said. We need to define science. What is your definition of science? To me, it doesn't make sense to even have to ask that question. Just the fact of trying to figure out how something works, what we're observing, anything of that nature, literally is science. What's up, Debbie? Welcome. And to that being said, it doesn't make sense to me for someone to hear something, a belief of somebody's here on the internet, and not instantly want to go research that. Now, why does your brain do that? That's your brain's fail-safe to understanding something. Do I trust that person? Does that person understand what they're saying? What do I do? Pretty simple. You go and research it. That's your brain's way of providing evidence for what someone's told you or what you've learned. Now, one thing I haven't seen is I haven't seen any flat earthers show us how undeniably a science experiment, explanation for anything is so untrue that we do not live on a globe. We don't get evidence. There's no observational examples, nothing. Flat Earth is based on denying the globe. Flat Earth is based on not understanding the globe, not being able to picture in your head and get it. That was my problem. I can't say that everyone is the same way, but I can tell you for sure the reason I believed it was a flat Earth was based on not understanding, for one, what science was explaining to me so I could understand it. Not explaining so I just believe it, explaining so I understand it. Once you're able to understand how something may work, that's when that idea in your brain of how it could be starts happening. I thought people were crazy when they say, you can't imagine the globe? You can't imagine how big it is. And I went, wow, you're right. That was my biggest issue when I realized it. The fact that I couldn't imagine the Earth could be that big, the fact that I couldn't imagine how the science works that shows us that, was a big, big issue to me. And one of the things that I had to really think about was, is my pride, my ego, more important than truth? And it wasn't. Now, Debbie, you say I gave up. I'm still searching. I'm still wanting truth for everything. Now, the one thing that should be everybody, to the degree of everybody's truth, is evidence. Not just anybody's evidence. Evidence that you understand, evidence that you can put forth to say, this is how it is. Right? Now, if you have some actual evidence for flat Earth, I am more than willing to hear it. I'm even willing to say, give me enough evidence. I could be a flat earther again, but that's going to take a hell of a lot of evidence because the globe has that evidence. It just is. It's not an answer. I personally, on my personal views, the Bible is not an answer. One thing that answers questions is evidence and understanding. I think understanding what you're trying to figure out is more important than trying to find evidences to disprove something. You spend your time showing us and pointing out to us the phenomenons and the science that isn't complete. And that's all in good, because I think everybody who has anything to do with flat Earth or globe should know these things. But the reality of it is, ready? And George, you're going to be able to respect this, ready? The science that you tell us is flawed, the science that you say is lying, you know this because our science said so. So, for instance, Debbie, right now you're saying scientific evidence of a spinning ball flying through space endlessly is what I request. Okay, well, science has given you a lot of that evidence. Whether or not you're willing to acknowledge that is evidence is something in yourself you have to figure out. Whether or not what they're telling us is fact is on you to figure out. Now, some people do just believe it just because they say it. I'm not one of those people. You can believe I became a glober again because I gave up. Because there's a difference between giving up and realizing reality. There's a difference between giving up and realizing that it's far-fetched. When you have no evidence, no facts, no understanding, that is where belief comes in, Debbie. You believe the earth is flat. There is no knowing. Because if there was knowing, you would be able to show it. Now, you can continuously say, Debbie, I gave up. You're right. You know what? You are right. I did give up. I gave up on a fallacy with zero evidence that was being explained to me with people with zero credibility. And to turn it all full circle, Debbie, you trusted your senses before you trusted the evidence. And again, your senses, our senses, are shit. They don't work. Belief is only in your head. Only in your head. You only believe something because your brain says, yeah, that's what it's like. That's what I perceive. But again, like I said, studies have already shown, data is out there, 100% proof. Matter of fact, I haven't seen anything, but it should be a fucking law of nature. Your senses are garbage compared to reality. Anybody who tells me their senses are 100% bullshit and they don't know what they're talking about. If someone comes up to you and says, hey, my car is red, there are two things that can happen. You're going to believe them or disbelieve them. Do not believe them, or you want to find out what color that car is, what do? Go look. In your brain, if someone says my car is red, your brain will never in a million years be able to tell you if it's truth or false just because. Your brain needs evidence to deduce what it's thinking, what it believes, and what it doesn't believe. Understand that a belief does not prove anything. A belief makes you believe it's real, makes you trust that it's reality. But again, we know for a fact that our senses do not always have what we want to believe in our best interest. If you're hungry, your brain will tell you, go eat. Your brain will tell you you're full. But what if I told you your brain is on a delay when it comes to that? You ever eaten until you're so full you feel sick? That's your brain's way of telling you, hey, too much, stop. If your brain was if your brain was something that you could depend on so well, you do understand that your brain would go, hey, you've eaten enough. You're good to go now. You've had enough. About halfway through your meal. What's up, Curve Pimp? How you doing, sir? He said, if you really believe and click your red shoe heels together, it will come true. That's religion. No, I don't agree with that at all. Because again, guys, let me make this very clear, because I've actually had to defend myself on this, and it doesn't make sense. It's my opinion about religion. It's not how I know it is. I don't know if there's a creator. I don't believe there is. But again, my beliefs does not stem how reality works. And I understand that. What's up, Sonia? How you doing? Sonia, how you doing? It says, very true. You have to go to look and go and have to go and look for yourself. But if they tell you, I don't know why my chat's not up. I can't even see it. Damn. My bad, guys. It says, 1 second. Trying to get there he goes. All right, so it says, but if they tell you that the car is red on Mount Everest, then he quit. That's an excuse. If you want to know the color, climb the mountain. 100%. That's exactly how it is. 100%. You have to put the effort towards finding out truth. Now, if you're not willing to, that's fine. Not a lot of people aren't. But hey, that's on you. But can you possibly tell other people what is facts based on just thinking? Right. Yeah, well, unfortunately, Debbie, how many times have you had to rush to the bathroom because your brain didn't tell you soon enough? Right? There you go. Did I agree with what you just said? Okay. The one thing that I also have an issue with is this idea that there's a debate. Let's see. There's no reason in my brain how it works and what I'm trying to get across to you guys, that at any point in time, what I'm telling you guys is 100% fact, right? I'm here, so I'm just a stepping stone. You hear what I say, go look. But there's one thing that I will never do, is tell you how right I am based on nothing. Now, if you can show me a way of proving this flat earth that you believe is here, please do. I've been begging for this since I came around. Past 2 years, I've asked. So Debbie, for you to assume I gave up, for you to assume I just listen to the science and just run with it, do you understand that maybe you haven't done any research that would give you any evidence? Do you not realize that flat earth isn't giving evidence? So anybody who's been here for more than a year, what have you learned about flat earth? Now, I'm sure you've learned a lot about the globe, but what have you learned about the flat earth? Now, Debbie, you say, I've never observed Earth's curvature or spinning motion. Here's the thing. I have. I 100% have. Everybody has. But now whether or not you want to understand what you're observing when you look it's not on me. Now, when we look out over, if we're at the beach and we're looking out over the ocean, that boat that goes over the curve, you need to understand that the horizon is the beginning of that curve. So basically, you can't see over a hill or down a hill from the top if you're backed off of it. Well, you're not standing on the horizon, you're back off of the horizon. Therefore, that's why you can't see the curve. But we can see the beginning. We can see the horizon. Okay, trouble. What evidence has been put forth? Now, before you answer that, is it going to be evidence, or are you going to give me a globe denying fact? That's the thing. Now, how do you show photos and footage of no curve? Explain that. It doesn't make sense to me where your information has brought you to where you are now. Like, you telling me you've given us plenty of evidence it's not true. It's just not. Now, you're saying the horizon is not a physical place. Okay, again, can you give me some flat earth evidence? George, you said the sun rising and the moon setting. It's a term, for one, because the sun doesn't move. We do. Now, if the sun did move, then the sun would rise and the sun would set. But at the same time, if you want to talk sunsets and sunrise, then if you got a problem with it for the globe, you must really have a problem for flat Earth, because it doesn't do what it doesn't. We don't observe. It does not calculate out to what a flat Earth depicts it to be. You've shown that science does not know what it is in the center of. No, okay. Here's the problem. Now, science doesn't say 100% fact. We're going to tell you exactly what's there, period. No, they take hundreds of tests. They deduce what the data gives them. For instance, they'll do like a sonar. So the sonar blast will basically bounce back faster at a harder rock. So they know where these sediment layers are and how it works. Now, they believe and theorize hypothesized, whatever you want to call it, that in the center of the Earth is like a nickel core, I guess, based on the fact that we know how the sediment layers work, and also what it may have taken to become Earth. Now, one thing that I've always wondered about, and up until recently kind of even started to understand, is why I don't believe in a creator. Why I believe it could have started just based on whatever's going on in space. Because there are different minerals and all this stuff is everywhere else in the universe. Why can't it become something? Why is it so impossible to believe that we are lucky to have landed here? Okay, now that brings me to my point, Debbie. You say science doesn't say anything. It's not an entity, silly? Okay, well, science is a study of. Scientists say a lot, and that's really nitpicking a sentence. But here's the reality of it. Yeah, and you're right, Trouble. My sentence is full of belief. Is believe word? Okay. What do you believe? What is flat Earth? When you found out about flat Earth, was it under your observations? Was it after your experiment? Before, and like you had no idea flat Earth existed, but suddenly you believed it was flat, and you ran with it was flat before you could complete your research, really, right? So what I'm trying to say is everybody here that I mean, in every experience I saw, and myself, including myself, it's the belief based on nothing, right? Can anybody tell me they didn't fall into flat Earth? They did studies, researched, and it became flat once their evidence showed it? No, I haven't met one. Now, again, you guys you're telling me all these things about how science isn't credible. You're telling me how what I'm saying is belief, but I asked for evidence. There's only one person in this whole chat that has actually said anything. That's Trouble, and that was photographic evidence. But unfortunately, how do you show photographic evidence for no curvature? Because every image that I've seen that quote unquote shouldn't be seen through, because of distance, either has an explanation for it, which again, those explanations you'll use in other situations, or they will openly tell you phenomenon and they're trying to figure it out. Now, you guys aren't putting forth these things that show flat Earth. Again, I said it a little while ago, very clearly. Again, please show me evidence for flat Earth. Very clear, and you guys have done it for a very long time because it's been around since longer than I was been here. But the reason I've now coined it, you guys are globe deniers, not flat earthers, are based on the fact that everything that you deem as evidence is not evidence for flat Earth. It's evidence that science is doing their job. You understand that, right? Again, name one, and Debbie, this is a great question for you. Name one evidence for flat Earth that you haven't gotten using the science you don't trust. Understand, Debbie, flat Earth is at best a hypothesis based on no observation. Or, I'm sorry, one observation. One observation that everybody will always concede to. When you look outside your first impression will be it's flat. Why? Because the amount of area you see compared to the actual size of Earth is nothing. It's nil. A speck. But again, that's why I've made it very clear, and you can check for yourself. Your senses are not they're not trustworthy. You cannot live your whole life only on your senses without evidence for things, without experiencing things differently, without realization. That's what it is. How many times have you gone, damn, did I see someone just walk by? Did I see a shadow in the corner of my eye? What the hell is... Man, I saw an ant on my leg, and I've been thinking there are ants crawling on me for the past fucking 45 minutes. All proof, evidence that your senses are not worth a shit to be trusted for. You understand that? That's this way it is. It's not me nitpicking anything. I'm not even debunking anything. I'm just giving you the realization that that's how it works. So, like I said, again, you're not going to be able to figure anything out. You're definitely not going to be able to depict how or where we live if you don't trust the science that we use to find these things out. Okay, so George says I need evidence, or I'm sorry, Trouble. So you said science is also a big param of, and that is a poison. So stop calling science pure. And name one time I said it was pure. Name one time I said it was uncorruptible. Name one time. And George, I'm gonna get to what you're saying, but I wanna kind of stay on track because if no one's gonna be on the panel, I'll come off the chat. Trouble. Can you name or concede to the fact that I not once have said science is pure? I have not once said it's uncorruptible. Never once. I never said that. Can you admit that I didn't say that? And I said this yesterday, and I know you know this. George, I know you know this. Trouble, I know you know this. Because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't be here. But I'm team people. I'm not team flat earth or team globe. This has nothing to do with a side. I didn't pick sides. If I picked sides, I'd be like I'd be an asshole to everybody. I'm only explaining these things because, believe it or not, and this is to everyone else, George, I know you know this. I give a fuck. Anybody who likes, and this is one of the things, people that call me like a shill or say I'm a traitor or blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you call me these things when I was a flat earther? Because when I was a flat earther, I was having these same discussions with you. Again, I've asked this question at least 3 times today. Show me evidence for flat earth, not phenomenons or unknown or unanswered or incomplete science for the globe. That's what you guys are doing right now. I said I need evidence for flat earth, and you've talked about can't see curve. Talked about science is corrupt. Yes, it is. So is flat earth. So is YouTube, Google, schools, grocery stores, business, all businessmen, basically. I mean, when you make the claim or the assumption that science is what science is, you're only helping my case. You guys got to understand, If it's sides, then we're all fucking doing it wrong. If it's sides, you do understand that one side is wrong. Now, here's the problem with that. Give me a credible source for flat Earth. Can you name one person that has the answers? Anybody? No worries, George. And my respect to you too, George. What's up, Paul? And that's another thing I was going to say. Thanks, Paul, for reminding me. So, you guys do understand that the science you distrust so much puts more effort to disproving itself than you guys do. You guys realize that, right? Just that alone makes your whole argument void. There are times when you want to explain how things work in your reality with our science. And I say our science because you either have a belief in the fact that science does work, or you distrust it and you don't use it. How do you have a flat Earth based on science, distrust, yet use on a regular basis? I guarantee, Debbie, you cannot explain to me how you've come to the conclusion it's flat using a science you don't trust. A science that always lies, I guess you say, right? That's the reality of it. You either believe it or you don't. And yes, what we perceive science is our belief that science is telling us the truth. Here's the problem for you guys. Science isn't only for scientists. They do not study stuff that we cannot study. All of us can do exactly what they are doing to come to the conclusions they are. Now, some of us don't have time. I'm 37 years old. I'm not going to become a scientist. But here's the reality of it. Again, to have evidence for where we live, there are thousands of experiments that can be done that don't have to be a scientist to perform, to understand. You guys are coming across like we're saying scientists are so damn smart and we're dumb, we have to listen to them. No, we don't. The same way you don't have to learn to be a TV producer to watch TV or understand how TV works. You don't have to be a scientist to understand where we live and how it works. If someone asks you what you're wearing, how easy is it for you to explain to them what you're wearing? Someone asks you, what are you going to wear in a month? How hard is it for you to know what you're going to be wearing in a month? Just so you understand that analogy, telling you what I'm wearing right now is science. Globe. That easy to give you the evidence for it. Me asking you, what are you going to wear in a month is flat Earth. How the fuck am I supposed to know what I'm going to be wearing in a month? The same way, how the hell can you think it's flat without any evidence? The reality of it is, again, how are you a globe denier? How are you a science denier, yet you're using our science? Say our in a sense of someone who understands what science does. It's just how it works. Now, yesterday I said something that I believe so fucking true, it's ridiculous, and I think everyone needs to stop doing it. Even you, Paul. I'm just kidding. No, actually, I'm not. These arguments start at ground zero, right? Belief, understanding it, explaining it. But sometimes those explanations or reasonings for belief get so fucking colluded with belief that it becomes someone's belief. Then someone else hears it, becomes their belief. That's not science. So again, your distrust is in scientists. Problem is, they distrust other scientists. Two football teams do not agree on who's going to win. Same way scientists don't agree on how to prove something, or how to, better yet, because they don't prove, how to explain something. How to show forth how something works. Now, that's why when I have someone come on my panel and want to explain how they know it's flat, and will explain everything there is to do with flat Earth and the globe using the science that 2 minutes before they say is unreliable. How do you know gravity isn't real without knowing how gravity works? And okay, if you tell me you know how gravity works, then you should easily be able to explain to me how the alternative works. That's not happening. The best I've heard with explanation is this density and buoyancy thing. Okay, but what if there's a way to prove what density and buoyancy is, right? What it is, not how where everything works, and I'm not talking just what it is. The definition. So we know in your brain exactly what it is. You then can understand what it is. Because if that were the case, how do you say density and buoyancy is an alternative explanation for gravity? Now, peace be with you. How you doing? And correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But as far as I know, science is in the business of disproving more than proving at all, right? That's why I believe it is. I'm just learning that science doesn't prove anything. To me, in my brain, my whole life, science proves shit. So trust me, for me, it's weird having to understand that science, the whole objective of scientists is to prove their colleagues wrong and be the one that's right. And that's easy in a card game, a game of 21. But when you have thousands of scientists doing just that, kind of hard to be corrupt. Now, there are tons of corrupt scientists. I don't care who you're talking. There isn't a globe on this planet that's going to tell me that's not true. Again, I'll tell you now, science has a shit ton of corrupt motherfuckers in it. Science, or better yet, scientists, have a shit ton of alternative motive for what they do. I've said this before, and it doesn't change. For people who keep thinking that because I'm a Glober now, all my views changed. This is how, in my head, it works. If I'm wrong, correct me. I haven't been corrected about it, though. A scientist's number one goal. I want to be a scientist. This is why. Easy. Ready? He wants to have a study he's done published. They want to figure shit out and they want it to be published. That's the end goal. Now, I know, people want to figure things out. They want to be part of that. I'm not meaning all that. I'm saying that the cut and dry of it. Scientists' end goal, the same way a football player's end goal is a Super Bowl, is published paper, acknowledging what they did. Now, to do so, there's a lot of studies that need to be done in that. A lot of experiments, there's thousands of hours of work to be done to be able to get to that point, right? So what does that mean? That means it's going to take some money because not all these studies are funded by anybody else. So a scientist still has to make money. So the scientist that works for a pharmacy company, he's there most likely advancing his research on the side. In my belief, again, my belief is that a scientist who needs a lot of money or a lot of funding or a lot of something, whatever it is, isn't exactly eager to finish a study. For instance, let me explain this better. I've owned a company. I've had employees. We ran a grading contractor, but basically we took in a lot of dirt, incoming trucks. And what would happen is, if I told the truck drivers, run as long as you want, which they get paid every time they come around and dump a load of dirt. If someone tells you this is what you're getting paid, you have no time constriction on it, your goal and your brain, this works the same way at work, guys. Same thing. When you work hourly and you like your job or whatever, you work your ass off and you'll work 10 to 12 hours, no problem, right? Now, anyone on a salary knows damn well your goal to get a certain amount of something done, get the fuck out of there. Why? Because no matter how much you work, you're going to get the same amount, regardless of the project start or finish. Right? Now, if you finish your project and that is your pay, you don't get paid until the next project. So prolonging a project to me is sensible if it comes to that, right? That's just one example to me and my beliefs why science isn't something just to trust. Science to me is shit, might as well be like fucking senses. Like Paul said a little while ago, science is in the business of disproving. Again, they're not going to falsify everything and take the chance of Joe Schmo scientists going, I figured it out. That guy's lying. Praise me. Because that's exactly what happens every time a scientist is wrong. The guy who showed that he was wrong, his name is on top. Now, science is corrupt. It is. There are many, many investors of these inventions and patents and things that want to be done or figured out that want their shit to be number one. Pretty sure when Bill Gates funds something, he wants that something to be the top of the research. What does he do? Puts more money to it. Oh shit, there's some laws and regulations that need to be fucking dealt with. What does he do? He goes and talks to his buddies, senators, and shit like that. That's where the corruption starts. But again, that has nothing to do with truth. Nothing to do with what is happening. You guys understand that, right? That's all the people part of the shit, not the actual reality of shit. Is the Earth spinning? Has nothing to do with Bill Gates talking to a senator and paying him off to do something or say something. Because no matter what, if that's the case, it can be disproven still. Now, again, you're not disproving the globe, guys. Globe deniers, you're not. You're only pointing out things that our scientists have told us. Give me something in the scientific world that you've disproven in science all around is saying is right. Name one. Name one thing that's not okay. Name one thing that you believe is a flat earth fact that science hasn't told us already is either trying to be figured out or has not or can't be explained yet. I'm open. Open ears, guys. Come on. I've seen quite a few flat earthers in here that act like they have the answers. And these are not prove me flat earth globe and questions I'm asking. These are, do you understand how reality works questions? Do you really understand how scientists and science itself works? Because all I'm seeing right now is not understanding it, making up a belief in which you think is better, and still no actual evidence for a flat earth. Just denying the globe, using scientists' explanations for phenomenons and unanswered questions. Again, yeah, exactly, Paul. Scientists aren't who we want, who shouldn't be trusted. Not one. Who the fuck trusts a scientist they don't know? You trust the science, not the scientists. You trust all science and what they tell you. No, I trust the science. Why? Because I know that other scientists are still on to this day trying to disprove anybody else's claims. I trust science because I am capable of being able to check it myself. What science is so untrustworthy that you believe it's flat earth? Name one. Again, you can't. Why? Because science does not lie. Scientists do. Why? Because they're also working with their five senses. Why do they have the scientific method? Because we know we can't trust people. Understand, the scientific method that you guys mainly are very unclear on was a tool used because scientists can't be trusted. Exactly. Science, fine. Scientists, you're right. They are fucking scumbags. So is the fucking liquor store owner. So is the fucking Uber driver. So is a YouTube CEO. We understand people are fucking morons. People have their own alternative motives. Always. Everybody. I do. My motive is I want to learn. I've made it clear. Fuck everybody else. This is for me to learn. Thank God I'm nice enough to let you all ride with me. Yeah, it sounds like a dick move, but guess what? Everyone thinks that way. Anybody who debates flat earth and globe, for the most part, they're there for their own selfish reasons. I want to be the guy who disproves flat earth. I want to be the guy who has flat earthers change and become globers because of me. That's what 90% of the globers around talking about this shit are doing. That's what 90% of the flat earthers are fucking doing. The only difference in reality is realizing that is the case. Realizing when you're doing it. Because your own personal gain isn't wrong. Your own selfish motives are not wrong. It's what you're willing to do to get to that is wrong. Are you willing to lie? Are you willing to step over people? Are you willing to just blatantly BS reality for it? That's the wrong part. I'm 100% one of the people that believe egos. You have an ego? Good. You're supposed to. Part of your self-confidence. That's part of knowing you respect yourself. Now, there's a point to that. Do you understand? You have confidence in yourself? Or are you determined to have everyone else understand and know you have confidence in yourself? Because that's where the ego lies. The term leave your ego at the door doesn't mean don't have an ego. It means don't show it to everybody. I can tell you right now, myself, any other glober, any other flat earther that comes on these panels, does live streams, has a lot of doubt in themselves, whether it be what they know, how they explain things, how people in general work. It's all doubts in their brain. How do I know this? Because someone who is so confident in the fact of something doesn't feel the need to explain that to people in hopes of them changing their mind. Hey dear, what do you want for dinner? I'll take McDonald's. Ah, come on. McDonald's has this, and this. That's one way. But at the same time, person who doesn't want McDonald's is then going to give his selfish reasons why they don't want something. Now, McDonald's killed you quickly. That wouldn't be a selfish motive reason to say, hey, we're not going to McDonald's, right? But, they have a lot of salt on their fries. And the line's going to be long. All these are selfish reasons. From smallest to the largest, they're all the same thing. We all do them. Once again, another reason not to trust your senses. Why? Because your senses tell you all those things. Your senses tell you to be selfish. Your senses tell your brain what is right, what is wrong. Your senses are crap, people. How do I know? Because we've also had to develop fail-safes to keep ourselves from killing ourselves with this shit. What do I mean? If you're starving and you're in the wilderness, your brain will tell you to eat a berry because it looks good. You're starving and you need food. And it will not tell you, wait, stop. Is that berry good or not? Let's open it up. Let's figure this out. No, when you're starving, your brain no longer wants to rationally figure something out. It wants to solve the problem. What do? Grab a handful of those berries and you fucking stuff them in your mouth. 3 hours later, you're fucking peeing out your butt. You guys need to realize something. Some of you, all of you, you think, you believe you have it figured out. Nobody does. You have never in your lives met anybody who knew it all or had it all figured out. That's it. Guys, if no one's going to jump on panel, no worries. No worries. I may go live again. But that was nothing I said today can you construe as a lie. Nothing I said today does not apply to neither side or to either side. It applies to everybody here. Everybody listening to this right now. Everything I've said today applies to you. Pointing that out because everyone who keeps doing this side and that side, fucking stop. Be team people, motherfuckers. Because in the end, the shape ain't gonna fucking save your asses.
But my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest, I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking, and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, so stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die. Wish I could slow down time and just enjoy the climb.
You know you are an animal. You're a human animal. And you've got auditus, olfactus, gustus, visus, and tactus. But don't worry about it, because in English that means the 5 senses. You know what they are? I'll show you. Hearing, smelling, taste, sight. Let's see now. There's one more. Oh, yeah.